Ladies and gentlemen, Haunted America is back for another episode of some of the most chilling stories you've ever heard.
Maybe it's the ghost of the last kid who lived here.
My immediate thought is this jail has to be on an old Native American land.
Right.
And then one of the doctors thought it would be good for patient morale not to let patients see all the people that were dying.
Everyone got real quiet. Even the guy singing karaoke stops, lays down the mic. My cousin goes as white as a new cotton t-shirt.
Haunted America is the most professional horror podcast there is.
Yep, we're drawing blanks.
Yep.
Yeah, what a podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're professional ghost hunters, people.
So join along for the laughs.
When I finished my job at the bathroom, what is
I love Reddit stories.
But stay for the horror and bone-chilling words they speak.
As I turned the corner and approached the house, I sensed something strange in the air.
Haunted locations, ghost stories. This is Haunted America.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Haunted America. Before we get into the episode, I have to bring up a new show that I've been listening to. Hometown Has-Beens is a podcast where four friends that grew up together in a small town in northeast Georgia sit down and talk together and just discuss random things every week. It reminds me a lot of four friends just sitting around a campfire out in the woods, relaxing and talking about whatever comes across their mind.
Yeah, all four of them now teach together at their alma mater and are now fathers who discuss their work, mistakes, life, and everything in between. Ben, Ryan, Chris, and Jason do a great job of making you feel like you're right there with them, joining in on the conversation.
So go ahead and give them a listen via the links below if you guys think you would enjoy their stuff too. Remember, it's always better to be a has-been than a never was. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Haunted America. I am your host, Dalton Taylor, and I'm joined by my co-host,
Jesse Trapasso.
It has been too long since we've sat down to record an episode for you guys. At the time of recording, it is December 29th, 12:50 p.m., right before the Bills game kicks off. Bills win today. They lock up the number 2 seed.
Oh,
For all you
boy.
sports fans out there,
Uh-huh.
might not be a Bills fan, but we're in Buffalo, so go Bills, baby.
Go Bills.
Yeah, go Bills. Happy late Christmas, merry late Christmas, happy late holidays, happy late New Year, because this episode will not be coming out until after the New Year.
Yeah.
And once again, big shout out to Hometown Has-Beens. Genuinely a really nice podcast.
Yeah, they got a good show.
So without further ado, let's get right into some Reddit stories, huh? Let's see if we still got this.
Oh, boy.
The story is from Hidden in the Maze. Wholesome haunting. I am 18 years old. When I was 6, my dad died. He was an amazing dad, and when my siblings and I were babies, he was very protective. He was also in the military, and before he went on his last deployment, we made a Build-A-Bear, a customizable stuffed animal. When you squeeze the hand, it would play a recording of him singing "You Are My Sunshine," which he always sang to us at nighttime, to calm us down when we were upset or got hurt. When my dad returned from his deployment, the song wouldn't play. You would squeeze all you want, and it wouldn't play. We thought it was just broken, because little kids break things, obviously. And 2 weeks after my dad died, I fell down the stairs. From upstairs, you could hear my dad's recording play, but it hadn't worked in the 2 years after he had returned, and it suddenly worked now. My mom, my sister, our brothers were all stunned. We tried to make it play again. Nothing. We thought it was just a fluke, some sort of crazy coincidence.
Well, my sister's boyfriend broke up with her the next week. She came home crying. The moment she stepped through the door, the bear goes off. It kept happening. When one of my brothers stubbed his toe, when my sister smacked herself in the head in the cabinet door, bright one she is. For years, every time one of us was upset, you could hear the bear. It stopped a couple of years ago. We all figured that Dad decided we were all teenagers now and didn't need his protection anymore. My sister didn't go to college because of her disability. She's taken some time off to heal and figure out her own path. I'm the second oldest. I just got my first college acceptance letter. I came in, tore the packaging open, and jumped for joy. We were all crowded around the kitchen when we heard it. The freaking bear hadn't gone off in years.
A very interesting story by Hidden in the Maze.
Yeah.
This definitely feels like your dad's way of just letting you know he is still there for you and your siblings, even in his passing.
When you fell down the stairs and it went off, is that him yelling at you for not
Yelling
being more
at you
careful?
for not being more careful or paying attention when you're going down the stairs, being as young as you were.
That's what I'm thinking.
That's kind of crazy, though, that for 2 years it didn't work.
Right.
And suddenly it goes off. Because those things are battery operated, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're battery operated. So once the battery goes, like, unless you replace it.
And usually they corrode, and after 2 years they're going to corrode too.
Yeah, and I don't know if Build-A-Bears last forever, but
Yeah, I don't know.
First of all, it's a good thing to have, especially with your dad's voice in it. That's very sweet. Obviously, your dad cared about you guys a lot. But yeah, to me, this just seems like your dad's way of letting you know he is still there. But once again, it's very weird that it doesn't go off and then something crazy happens, somebody gets hurt, or, something big happens in one of the child's lives.
So the sister has a disability, so she's handicapped and got broken up with, and she's crying, and then it goes off, and it kept happening.
It's the dad's way of letting you know he's there, right?
I would think so.
Kind of like, there's other stories of
When the brother stubbed his
finding
toe.
pennies or stuff like that,
The
right?
brother stubbed his toe. I mean, I think that's dad laughing at you.
Maybe this dad wasn't a laugher, maybe this dad is, hey, it's okay.
Oh, yeah,
It's okay.
okay.
I'm here for you,
Could have been that. Could have been that.
Let's see any of these comments here. What a very special story. Congratulations on receiving your acceptance letter. Very cool indeed. That is your late father's spirit making the bear sing. Yep. Such a beautiful story. You had an amazing dad. He's still showing up for you in good and bad times the best way he can.
I mean, I would think that's pretty cool.
And like I said, there's plenty of other stories of spirits making their way or making themselves known in various ways, even after they're passing, right?
It's happened to me personally. And you too.
Normally you smell like cologne of like a passed on grandfather or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Perfume of a passed on mom, grandma, that kind of stuff. So
some people will see like certain birds that are attributed to that person.
What's a cardinal, right? A cardinal is attributed to seeing a passed on loved one, right? Isn't that the myth, the rumor?
I mean, I think it can be specific to that person, but I think the one you most generally hear about is cardinal, yeah.
Actually, our next story here, speaking of smelling perfume as a way of knowing that a passed on loved one is with you.
How about that?
I'm not going to read the
Okay, so the
Nope.
No, I'll do. The name of the person is Mind F Me 420.
Okay, yeah, we'll go with that.
That's what we're gonna say.
And the name of the story is Need Answers to Smelling Perfume. Okay, so here it goes. I'm back in my hometown for a little bit after a long gap of 3 years. I met some of my old friends of mine for dinner at a little far off place from my house. I went for dinner riding my bike instead of asking friends to pick me up because I live way off route for any of them to come pick me up, and I had my own transport for a change. Well, by the time we got done, it was about 1:30, and I had a long ride since I live so far. Also, it may be worthwhile to mention that these are all village roads I'm traveling through, and there's literally no traffic nor people on the street at this time.
I started my bike, put some music, and began the ride. I encountered no one on my way except for the occasional vehicle passing by and some stray animals. It was not eerie, and I didn't feel weird at all for 80% of the ride up until I turned the corner to where my street starts. As I was turning, I got a strong scent of perfume, even though there was not a soul there. It couldn't have been my perfume since I use a masculine scent, and this was a feminine flowery scent. As I was pondering while riding, I got a whiff of the same perfume again, though this time it was a bit subtle. Again, no living being is in sight, and there were no houses nearby to explain the presence of perfume suddenly, in an environment which smelt like dust and air for the most part. I felt extremely uncomfortable immediately and just sped up a bit so I could get home quickly. I became extremely uneasy until I saw my house and rushed through the front door.
Please, can someone tell me if this has any meaning or significance? Why did I smell perfume randomly? And that too on the same stretch of the ride. So, once again, this ties into the last story. This could be some passed on loved one or a passed on being letting you know that they are in the area. But also in the way of trying to debunk this.
Right.
What time of the year was this?
Yeah.
Were you passing by a field with flowers or woods, cherry blossoms, all that kind of stuff? I'm a hunter, so there were times where I walked through the woods and I smelled, some sort of like flowery scent, and it's just a tree and the wind's blowing the right way at the right time, and you just get a strong whiff of whatever is blowing through the breeze.
Maybe if this happened at a different occasion, like not riding your bike outside, like maybe if it just happened like at your house,
Okay, yeah, so scrolling down to read some of the comments, this person commented, if there are houses around, a dryer could be running that causes that smell in the air. Paranormally speaking, you could have experienced a clarification. That's the ability to smell a spirit. But then he comments down below, there were no houses around.
Okay.
So, once again, this leads into me asking, were you passing by a field?
Right.
Were you going by a patch of woods? Like I said, the wind blows at the right time. You never know what you're really going to smell.
Right.
We live in a town. At the right time of the wind blowing, we could smell a bonfire or something like that all the way on the other side of town, So really, there's a lot of questions here to be asked, but paranormally speaking, this could have been, like that one commenter said, a clarification of a spirit, smelling a spirit around you.
I would like to know if this ever happened another time.
To this person?
Yeah.
Like if it's happened on the same stretch of road or just happened like in this person's life?
In this person's life on a different occasion.
I don't really know what to think about this story because it could be a million different things.
And back in your hometown after a long gap of 3 years, who knows? That maybe there's stuff there that produces smells that you don't remember there being there.
Right.
I mean, I hate to be, the debunker about it.
I feel like that's kind of our job of reading these stories, right? Think about the plausible explanations for the events that are occurring to these people.
Yeah, definitely.
So like I said, this all kind of ties in back to that last one of somebody letting you know that they are there. Yeah. The other thing you could ask this person is, did you recognize the scent?
Right.
Is it, has your grandma passed on? Does this smell like maybe a candle she lit or her perfume she used back in the day?
'Cause I can tell you, after my grandmother passed, I would walk in this house and I would smell her all the time. And even after that went away, randomly, I would all of a sudden get that smell. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, I haven't smelled this for months. Where's this coming from?
I still smell my grandfather's, he used Irish Spring all the time. And there will be random times I'm out in public and or out driving or something like that, and I get a whiff of Irish Spring.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's his way of letting me know he's still around.
Yeah.
So. Thank you guys for joining us for this episode of Haunted America. We'll be back next week with another episode of more Reddit ghost stories. Make sure to check out Hometown Has-Beens. If you guys have a ghost story that you would like to share with us, let us know by emailing us at hauntedamericapodcast@gmail.com to have your story read on the show. Until then, I am Dalton Taylor.
And I'm Jess Trapasso.
And this has been
Haunted America.